So when it comes to power, I feel like everyone has power. Everyone has their own, strengths, skills, whatever. But when you start to surround yourself with people, especially if you like crowds or you like to be outgoing or if you like connecting with others, you're going to meet people that will tend to kind of take away your power. So I'm not going to talk about energy takers or energy vampires in this video, but I am going to make a video about that. So if you're interested, stay tuned. But as I mentioned, I have 7 steps to claim your power back, or to stop giving your power away if you feel like people are taking advantage of you. Okay, so the first step I'm going to be talking about is empower yourself by setting boundaries. When it comes to boundaries, I feel like a lot of people may lack boundaries, which is normal, of course. You may not even know that you lack certain boundaries. Boundaries can be tricky if you are a people pleaser, which as a formal people pleaser, I definitely lacked boundaries. I just wanted others to like me, that I didn't really care about my needs, which is honestly not healthy at all. But that is where setting boundaries will be your best friend. And when you don't actually set boundaries, it can have you feeling resentment, disappointment, and anger that can build up over time. If your boundaries are more closed off or strong, could maintain distance from other people, come across as distant even with close partners, or you may stay away from intimate relationships. On the other hand, if your boundaries are more flexible or more open, you could get involved with people's drama, find it difficult to say no to others, overshare information with others, and lastly, seek to please others for the fear of rejection. Now I'm going to be talking about how to set boundaries. The first thing you want to do is reflect on what type of boundaries you want to set and what are they for. And then you want to start with small boundaries. For example, if you don't want to do something, just simply say no, or say that you can't. And when setting boundaries, consistency is key, and you want to try to stay consistent to that boundary. Also, setting boundaries with yourself and others is essential for protecting your time and energy. So it's important to set boundaries if you feel like you lack boundaries. The second step to stop giving your power away is to consider how you feel, really take in your emotions. For example, if you like a guy and he only wants to hang out at night, ask yourself, how does this make you feel? And if you do end up going to see him at whatever time of the day that he prefers, ask yourself, like I said, how does this make you feel? Would you rather prefer to hang out during the day? Let's just say you'd rather hang out at, lunchtime. Just be like, I'd prefer to hang out at lunchtime and not so much prefer to hang out after 9 p.m. just because I have certain priorities. I like to be in bed at a certain time. I have my skincare I have to do, that type of stuff. Maybe you have a friend that keeps pressuring you to go out every weekend, to go party, to drink, but some weekends you just want to have a chill night. You just want to stay inside. Maybe tell her, I'd prefer to have a chill night. And even if you do say yes, ask yourself, how do you feel when you say yes? And how do you feel the next day? That's really important, because when I felt like I didn't want to do something, but I ended up saying yes, I would feel not so great the next day. But I also am a believer in saying yes to things, but we'll talk about that in another video. I feel if emotions are ignored for too long, they will tend to drive us. So it's really important to sit down and ask yourself how you feel, especially when you feel like you're lacking boundaries. That's the number one thing. The third step I have for you guys is prioritize self-care and self-awareness. As I mentioned in all my videos, I really like to talk about how important self-care is, and it should be a daily ritual into routine. Self-care can be something small, as in washing your face every morning and night. You could journal 3 times a week, work out 30 minutes of a day, go on walks, whatever you love to do. Find time to do so. So if you love to paint, find time to paint. If you want to snuggle your animal, find time to snuggle your animal. I just think self-care is really important, and I know self-care can be hard if you're not used to, making yourself the number one person that it should be. Because back before I started, you know, really working on myself, I honestly had no self-care. I mean, I would work out, but like for all the wrong reasons. I won't even wash my face every morning or night, and that's something if I don't wash my face every morning and night, I probably would be mad at myself. It's something I always tend to do. I also would never journal, but I grew into loving journaling. I also really like yoga and meditating, which a couple years back I would never think to do that. So the fourth step I have for you is to recognize your strengths. Ways to recognize your strength is to be open to feedback, focus on your passions, ask others what they think your strengths are, and then of course focus on new experiences. When it comes to focusing on your strengths, or if you're not sure what your strengths are, I really think asking others is a good way to find out your strengths. I also think being open to self-criticism is very important. So let's just say you're giving a speech and someone says, oh, I think you should do this. Instead of being defensive and be like, oh, why did you think my speech was bad? Just take their advice. Maybe they're there to help. The fifth tip I have for you is to make decisions aligned with your values and assertively communicate your needs. So I would say focus on your values, and it is really important to communicate your needs. My therapist taught me that it's really important to be transparent in all relationships. So if you have something you want to say, please say it. I know for me personally, if I feel some type of way, especially with someone, and sometimes I kind of tell myself like, if they don't care, why should I care? But looking back, I just wish that I could tell certain people how I feel, and I do tend to hold back depending on who it is or what type of relationship we have. But definitely be transparent, because no one knows how you feel except you unless you mention it. And then when it comes to setting boundaries, it's important to be transparent to whoever this boundary may be involved. So whether it's your family, a romantic partner, a friend, it's better to communicate your needs than to kind of just let them sit in. So the next step is pretty generic, but it is to cut back on complaining. I know we tend to complain. It's just human nature to complain. But in order to, keep your power, it's better to not complain. Because like when you ask yourself, what are you like, or how do you feel when you're around someone that complains over and over again? Versus what are you like when you're around someone that, doesn't complain, they kind of just go with the flow, they're just happy. You feel better with the one that's happy versus the one that complains. So the final step I have for you guys is to remember your power lies within your choices and mindsets. I was watching a TED Talk and I really like this quote. It's from Albert Einstein, but the quote is, there are two ways to live your life. One is though nothing is a miracle. The other is though everything is a miracle. Just think about that for a second. Just think about that quote. You could decide to look at everything doesn't work out for me. You can look at this happened because it taught me something. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Until next time.